you join me at a tremendously exciting moment. It's Into Your Head, number 612 for Wednesday. We've a lot to get on with today. Items that need to be attended to, issues that need to be addressed, topics. Oh, topics. We've got lots and lots of topics. We're positively moving to the themes with topics, although I'm afraid to bring up any now. As on the previous episode before last Friday, I believe, I mentioned Neil Armstrong and urinating in space, and then 2 days later, the poor man died, unexpectedly, or at least I wasn't aware that he was going to die. It was news to me, so if you heard me on Friday talking about Neil Armstrong, anything I said about him now doesn't count anymore because he's dead. He no longer exists. I don't remember what I said about him. I listened back to it about half an hour ago. I still don't remember. I believe I said something about him going to the moon and something about how do you urinate. Oh yes, I think it was something about people asking him how you urinate in space. Well, if you were going on foot with that show, if you were planning on going up to Neil Armstrong and asking how you urinate in space, I'm afraid it's too late now, unless you got to him before Sunday morning, in which case you may well have asked him, how do you urinate in your hospital bed? I don't know. If he did, I think that's in very bad taste. I don't even know whether he was in hospital. I think he probably was. That's where people usually go to be sick. Sometimes, if you're out drinking at night in a pub, you want to go somewhere to be sick, you usually just go to a toilet or into a dark corridor in an alleyway. But if you're not drinking and you're dying and you need to go somewhere to be sick, it's usually a hospital or somewhere like that, some sort of institution that deals with dying and non-dying. Some of these hospitals, they're into preventing deaths. You go in there and say, I'm dying. If you have a proactive doctor, he'll say, you are not dying. Not on my watch anyway. And then you ask them, what time does your watch finish at? And you'll say, well, I work 9 to 5:30. But don't worry, there'll be someone here to watch you at night too. Although admittedly, it'll probably just be a nurse and an emergency doctor, like the emergency holographic doctor on Star Trek Voyager. I saw him on something else recently. What did I see him on? I'm sure I saw him on something. I think it was on the 4400, which I just finished recently. Was in an incomplete ending, if you don't mind me saying so. They said, they implied that there was going to be another season, but there wasn't. There was no more seasons. They had the spring of the 4400, then they had the summer of the 4400, then they had the autumn of the 4400, then they had the winter of the 4400, and that was the excuse they used. They said, there's only 4 seasons in existence. We're a television station, a cable television network. You can barely afford to make this crap, and there's no more seasons left, so how the hell do you expect us to make any more until the powers that be institute a new season, which I think we're going to need anyway. It's coming up to the end of the summer now, and it's been pissing rain for the last 3 months here, barely being able to mow the lawn before it starts raining down on my head again and the weeds start growing. But no, anyway, Neil Armstrong, may he rest in peace, unless some fucking Aegis does that thing they usually do with these people and pumps them out into space. For Christ's sake, whatever you do when I die, don't go pumping me out into space or dropping me on Mars or spraying me on some satellite or something. Some satellite that's going to be destroyed in 50 years' time. No, bury me in the ground like a fucking human being. I'm not Gene Roddenberry or Neil Armstrong. These people learned how to spell his first name correctly. My name's Neil too, and nobody knows how to spell. How do you spell my name? Let me know. Have a guess. It's the first word in each description of every show for at least the last 200 episodes. It's also part of my Twitter and Facebook names, but nobody gets it right. They'll send you an email that has, they'll say, Dear Neil, NIEALELLEALLALLALL, and then they'll direct it at my email address which has Neil in it or something. Although admittedly it doesn't anymore. But that's not the point. If you think that's the point, then I can tell you you're sadly mistaken. Maybe you're not sad about it, but you should be if you have any understanding of the situation, which clearly you don't. So I suppose there's something to be said for being stupid and ignorant, because you don't get sad about. Oh, it could work the other way as well. If you're so stupid that when something good happens you think it's bad, then that could work against you. So I suppose it all balances out in the end. I assume it does anyway. But that's not an assumption based on ignorance. It's an informed assumption based on having thought about this for the last 40 seconds or so while discussing it on my podcast. So perfectly reasonable. Anyway, hello and welcome to the show.
You're listening to Into Your Head, hosted by Neil, Ireland's version of the Octomom. Except he's a dude and has cats.
Absolutely fantastic.
I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, was all that really necessary? 5 minutes, in fact, if I'm being accurate, 5 minutes and 31 seconds about Neil Armstrong's death and the effects on the urination question posed about him last week. It wasn't really about him at all, I just happened to mention him. It's to answer your question that you didn't ask. No, it's not necessary. For just because something isn't necessary, that doesn't mean you can't do it or don't have to do it or shouldn't do it. There's more to life than whether something is necessary. It's not necessary to breathe either. Go ahead and stop breathing. See how that works out for you without a spacesuit. I can tell you, if it wasn't for Neil Armstrong, you wouldn't have any spacesuits at all. I don't even have any spacesuits at the moment. I don't even own a business suit at the moment. I don't think I ever have now. Although I did for a while, yes. I only wore it once. There's no reason to, in this day and age, in the age of freedom and non-slavery, for people to be owning business suits. If you're going to a place where they make you wear a suit, then you might as well be going to prison and wearing one of those cool prison suits with the arrows on it or the stripes or something like that. At least that looks cool. Looks like you're in a movie about a prisoner. I can just tell everyone, I wasn't convicted of anything, but I paid to go into prison on an undercover basis to study for an upcoming film role, and I asked the cogs, what do they call the wags? The prison guards, I forget what the slag is for them. Anyway, you ask them not to tell anyone that you're not a real convict, then you got beaten up in jail. It was great practice. Robert De Niro used to do that. He'd go into prison and he'd join the prison boxing thing just for protection. This was before he was even going to do that film about being a boxer. He decided, I'm studying for a possible role in the film as a prisoner, so I'll go and be a prisoner for a while. But while I'm in there, I'll join the Prison Boxing Association so I can learn how to defend myself just in case it gets out of hand. And that's how he ended up becoming boxing abilitied, equipped with enough boxing ability to star in that fine movie that he was in about a boxer. I forget what it was called. What the fuck was it called? It was called something. Hold on a minute. Robert De Niro boxing movie search. Raging Bull, that's what I knew. It was something. Raging Bull with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Cathy Moriarty, and someone else. A destructive boxer's journey through life. Something. There's a trailer for it. Not to be confused with anything. That's why it has its own word. It's called a trailer. If it was okay to confuse it with other stuff, they just call it a thing, and then it wouldn't matter what it was. In fact, that could save a lot of space. A lot of these things, when you're talking about them, it doesn't really matter what they are, so you could just use a generic word, just call it a thing. For example, let's say I'm telling a story about going down to the shop. I'll say, I go down the shop, I walk down the aisle that was full of things. There was things on the left of me, things on the right, things in the middle. There's no need for for me to have words for each individual thing or category of thing. That's wasteful. You can have too many words, the whole point of language is uniformity, so we can have the same words for things and make it as easy to learn as possible so we can learn our languages, learn how to speak and get the fuck out of school by the time we're 9 years of age, which would be fine with me because my wife teaches younger children. I'm fine with if they leave school by 10 or 11. I won't put her out of work. So as long as they keep that. Anyway, suffice to say, I know what you're thinking there. I just can't remember what I said you were thinking now, but wherever it was, that's what it was. Anyway, on with the show. Monkey nuts, that's what they call them. They call them big steaming dollops of monkey nuts, ground monkey nut paste, obviously, because monkey nuts themselves as things couldn't appear in dollops. But when you grind these things down and change their form type, you can make different things. You could never. They're doing the same with peas now on all of these fancy smancy cookery programs. Oh, you get these for every now and then. You'll get some fella come on MasterChef and he'll say, "Oh, I'm doing peas the new way, the new chemical way, where you grind them down into a paste and then you make new ball-shaped items the shape of a pea, but I've changed the consistency of them." It's basically turned pea puree into little pea-shaped items for some reason, and it's all considered very scientific. There's scientific methods behind it, and you get out a frigging pipette and a syringe, and you'll syringe out the newly formed artificial pea made from pea puree. Absolutely fucking ridiculous if you ask me. But no, you could do the same with monkey nuts if you put your mind to it. You get a monkey nut, you probably need something stronger than whatever you make pea puree in. You need something that can chop through a monkey nut and grind it down. You'd probably remove the shell first. Do something else with the shell. Make a side industry from the shells that you remove, because that's how industry works. You get get byproducts out of things. If you get a cow and you make sausages out of it, you don't just throw the head in the bin. No, you sell the head on to someone else who make dog food out of it, and you sell the feet on to someone else who make shoes out of it, like those Dutch shoes they have in Dutchland. They have shoes called moccasins, and they're basically made out of wood. You hollow out a bit of wood and you put them on under your shoe, over your main shoes for weather protection. You could probably make those. Maybe you couldn't. Could you make a cow's hooves into one of them? You probably couldn't, because it's not wood for one thing, and it's more biodegradable than you'd want your clothing to be. You don't want biodegradable clothing that's not, you don't want it to biodegrade while you're wearing it, I suppose what I'm saying. You don't want flesh, animal flesh constituting your clothes, because that's going to rot, and people will say, "Oh, that fella's feet are very smelly." No matter how much you try to defend yourself by saying, "Oh, that's not my smell, that's the smell of the cow's feet that were used to make my shoes, so it's not my fault," they'll still look funny at you for the rest of your life. They'll never look at you the same way. They'll say, "Oh, that fella's a weirdo." That's what happens nowadays. If you do anything out of the ordinary, people think, "Oh, that fella's a weirdo. He's not normal." You're not allowed to be not normal anymore. Everyone has to be exactly average. You have to find out what's the mean level of everything and be that. Average or mean, whatever it's called. And be careful there, because to know too much about these mathematical terms is considered abnormal too. So you have to watch it there. Don't be careful what vibes you give out about how much knowledge or understanding you have of the world around you, because people will say, "Oh, that fella knows stuff. He's abnormal. He's a weirdo. He needs a good kick up the arse. He needs a wedgie." That's what they'll say. That's what happened to Robert De Niro in prison. People saw him looking around observing observing everything, because he's a fellow who takes his job seriously, or he used to anyway. He doesn't anymore. If he stars in complete crap now, for the last 15 years, everything Robert De Niro has been in as being very much, oh, look at me, I'm in a thing, doing a thing, and it's a comedy, and I'll just sit here, I'll either take drugs, like in that Quentin Tarantino thing, or else it'll be a family movie, and I'll just sit here being Robert De Niro, and people will say, oh, look, there's Robert De Niro doing his bog standard Robert De Niro face that he developed in the 70s, but which it's as if he's had whatever the acting metaphorical equivalent to Botox is. He's had that injected into his acting personality, so his face doesn't move anymore. He just keeps that face on and says, here's my face, do whatever you want with this, just take a photograph of me sitting here doing this face and stretch it out. Filled up a couple of scenes with that, and I'll just go home to my millions of dollars. I'll go home to my millions of dollars, my 8 cats. Does Robert De Niro have cats? I wonder. There's a question. It's not a question I'm very much interested in, but I have a responsibility as a broadcaster. If I happen to mention the question in passing, I have an obligation to look into it further. So here we go. Does Robert De Niro have 8 cats? Question mark. Let's see. Awakenings, Wikipedia. Robert De Niro and the rest of the patients were awakened after decades of catatonia. And then the second option is Raging Bull. No, it doesn't appear to have any connection with cats at all. That's a shame. There's someone saying, does Robert De Niro look like Bono from U2 in age makeup? I don't know, very little mention of cats in association with Robert De Niro there. So I assume now that it's safe to say that Robert De Niro, if he has cats, he's not known for it. He's known for other stuff. He's managed to keep it quiet. He's managed to not draw too much attention to his cat population, which I suppose is fine. You're allowed to quietly own cats, you know. You don't have to tell the whole fucking world about it. Although some of us choose to do. See intoyourhead.com category blog for my Matchstick Cats webcomics, which I rerun dozens of lately. Anyway, on with the show. Connie Into Your Head.
Do you need to buy new glasses? Do you want to help your favorite podcast but can't afford to? Well, now you can do both. Goggles 4U is the online destination for prescription eyeglasses and sunglasses of all varieties. Save while shopping for single vision, bifocals, progressives, and photochromic lenses, whatever they are. Use their virtual try-on feature to try over 3,000 frames online, including designer frames. The 360-degree viewer will help you in making the right selection of frame every time, because let's face it, you're pretty vain, aren't you? Goggles 4U offers worldwide shipping and 24/7 customer service. And the best thing? When you shop at Goggles 4U using Neil's big green blurry advert at intoyourhead.com/offers, Into Your Head get a generous commission and it doesn't cost you a penny extra. So next time you need glasses, visit intoyourhead.com/offers. Click on the big green blurry Goggles 4U ad and start shopping.
Hello, it's me again. Welcome to the second part of today's show. I say the second part, I mean the part after the main commercial break. The break in non-commerciality, which is now over. The break in non-commerciality is now over, and we're back to a non-commercial part of the show. In other words, the content. This is the content. This is the main meat of the show. If this was a bit of chicken, the piece you've just heard would be the bones, because while you don't eat it, it's still an important part of the chicken, and it keeps the chicken in business. You can't grow a chicken without bones in it, whether you eat them or not. Besides which, you can always give the bones to the cats to play with. You don't be starting growing boneless chickens, because if you start growing boneless chickens, then what's going to happen then is that the chickens will come out less and less. They won't be making 3 half-hour chickens a week then, I can tell you. No, they'll go back back to the old days when they had to have a full-time job and they made the chickens on the occasional day when they had a day off and when they weren't too tired from 4 hours of commuting a day to record a chicken. I'll tell you, there were much shorter chickens in those days as well. Half the time I was drunk while I was making the chickens. So no, don't be writing off chicken bones. They're an integral part of the chicken's development, and there's be no chicken on your plate if they didn't have bones. So let that be a lesson to us all, including myself. Not ashamed to say I've learned something from what I've just been talking about. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you spend your whole life learning. Life is a big long learning exercise. You go out the door and the first thing you do is you learn. You think, the world is still there. The world seems to be, well, as far as I can see anyway. I can see as far as the horizon, unless it's foggy, in which case you think, I wonder, is the world still there? And if you have any tiny sense of human curiosity, you'll go and look into it. You'll think, I wonder, is the world still there? I think I'll go out further into the world and investigate, because I'd like to know. Unless you're one of these jaded people nowadays who thinks, it's foggy, I can't tell whether the world is still there or not. I'll just go back indoors and watch television, recorded television, of course, so I'll have no sense of whether the world is still there. You could be just watching stuff that was made months ago. Or watching reruns. No. Have a bit of fucking curiosity about the world, will you? There's no point in just sitting there going, the world. I've seen it all before. I've been looking at the world for the last 36 years. No interest whatsoever. Get your fucking shit together. Don't be jaded. Stop being jaded. I know you can't just switch off jadedness, but at least fucking try, you lazy cunts. And while you're there, go to intoyourhead.com and click on my Amazon links and buy something on Amazon. Buy some maps or something. You can buy them through Amazon.com or Amazon.ca or Amazon.co.uk. It all helps the show. And if you're in a different Amazon region, incidentally, and you want me to set up your Amazon region as a link, then let me know, please. studio@intoyourhead.com. I don't know where half of you people are, but I suspect soon I may need to set up an Amazon.fr or wherever the French thing is, because there's a lot of French people listening to this. I've been led to believe by the emails from French. I've had French people email me saying, I'm listening to this. I usually email back and say, why? And at that point, they usually say, parce que il y a something in French, and I don't understand it. I did study French for 2 years, or for 5 years rather, in secondary school. I just didn't learn anything. As far as I was concerned, I might as well have been learning chemistry for all I cared about French. Well, at least the chemistry, they did it through English, so I could understand what the fellow was saying. Just didn't bother memorizing it. Anyway, suffice to say, hello.
Do you like reruns? Of course you do. Reruns are the modern day equivalent to new things. Anyway, Into Your Head Radio now has a dedicated reruns feed. Every week, there's a fresh selection of old shows handpicked from throughout Into Your Head Radio's 6-year history. And it's free. To subscribe to the new reruns feed, just visit intoyourhead.com/archive.
The Duck Egg Devolution debacle. Oh no, de-evolution debacle. Is that the same thing? No, I don't think it is. Because the Scottish and the Welsh talk about devolution when they're talking about gaining back some of their political and parliamentary independence. So no, in this instance, we're not talking about devolution. We're talking about de-evolution. So this article is called The Duck Egg De-evolution Debacle. Feck. And it was previously published on one of my various websites and written by me. I've noticed that recently my fingernails have been becoming longer and longer. I assume it's because I'm evolving in some way or other, and that part of this process involves growing a shell. Frankly, this couldn't have come at a better time, because house prices here in Ireland, at time of writing several years ago, are soaring, and I can't get a decent apartment on my salary. I suppose I could grow a house if I really needed to, but as so so stressful waiting for the seeds to germinate and wondering whether it's going to be a boy house or a girl. That's fucking stupid, a girl's house. Not that it matters, but you really need to know where the main entrance is going to be if the house is going to line up with your garden path properly. That's rather vulgar. I don't remember this being as vulgar as this. I remember writing that, but I don't remember, I don't think I realised there was a vulgar meaning in that. Anyway, the reason why all this came up is that I was in Dublin Zoo a few weeks ago at time of writing, and I noticed that some of the staff who worked in the primate section at time of visit a few weeks prior to time of writing had de-evolved into monkeys. Not only that, it became apparent after a few minutes of exploring that one of the giraffes had mated with a monkey, and there was a fella with a really long neck walking around busily trying to evolve so he could reintegrate himself into modern society. Now, stop me if I'm being judgmental, but I think any monkey who couldn't be bothered to evolve with the rest of us a couple of million years ago does not deserve to get any respect or bananas from anyone. It's a judgment call and I'm making it at time of writing. When I was about 6 years old, at time of writing, minus 24 years or so, I'd say, I asked Santa Claus to give me a monkey for Christmas. My parents called Santa and made sure he had received a letter which I had sent from telex from my bedroom the previous evening. Now that's bullshit. Now, I don't mean to be ungrateful, but what I received on Christmas Day was not the cute little black furry creature that I'd expected. It was a tall yellow duck with an orange beak and for some reason a striped t-shirt which was sewn onto its torso. Duck Egg, such was the name that I gave him, fell apart after a couple of years. They don't make stuffed toy ducks like they used to. His head started to become separated from his body at the back within a few weeks of purchase, and it wasn't long before my bedroom floor became strewn with lost stuffing. I think that's a dramatic exaggeration that I made when I was authoring this. But it did happen that his head became separated from his body. Anyway, although technically it wasn't lost because I knew where it was. It was right there on the floor. Anywho, for some reason Duck Egg had 2 legs and 2 arms. And this confused me immensely as a child. What was I supposed to think? That ducks have arms and stand upright? Well, I suppose they do stand upright, but I'm pretty sure ducks aren't supposed to have arms. It's just not the done thing. Then I realised. It became mind-bogglingly obvious to me. The toy companies were conspiring to hasten the evolution of children so that they would demand more sophisticated and challenging toys from Santa Claus. They were doing this by making incorrectly limbed toy ducks, which would force the children to use every ounce of brain power that they had to try to figure out what the hell was going on. This would cause their brains to grow, and that was exactly the type of evolution that the toy manufacturers wanted. So that's what happened. But I'm sure you're wondering, where did it all end? Well, I don't know. I really can't be bothered today at time of writing. I should have just wrote something about cats, because that's so much easier. But no, I had to pick an unbeaten path as usual and discuss a topic about which there exists very little solid research to rely on. I probably told myself something about needing to exercise my mind or some such crap. You know, when I was in school we used to be told to take our pencil for a walk, meaning draw a never-ending line and keep drawing until the page was covered in shapes. We were then given some pencils and told to colour the shapes with the crayons. You could always tell when the teacher had a hangover and wanted an easy day, and that's pretty much what I'm going to do now. Here's your crayons, knock yourself out. Just try not to eat them because I'm not completely sure that they aren't toxic. And besides, you shouldn't ruin your appetite between meals. If you must, have a piece of fruit or serving of vegetables instead. I always find that the rest of this article is a load of crap, so we'll leave it there. We'll draw a line under that and we'll mark it used on episode 612 of Into Your Head. We'll leave it at that, and that's almost enough. That's almost the show done now. I read some stuff from the me of the past when I used to be able to write, and then stuff and things. Anyway, on with the end of the show.
If you would like to comment on any of the issues raised in today's programme, email us at studio@intoyourhead.com. Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener.
Sit, Frosty. Sit. Good cat.